Elon Musk has made a positive impact on our world. But the question is, how has his hairline changed in the past 20 years? For those of you who are new to our channel, I'm Dr. Ross Kopelman, a hair restoration surgeon at Kopelman Hair. We're going to take a very close look at Elon's hairline today. And luckily, he's very, very active in the media. So we have a lot of great pictures we can look at to help us determine, did he have a hair transplant? These early photos of Elon are very typical of any male child. You're really not going to be able to appreciate any potential for future hair loss in a child. And the reason is because they haven't gone through puberty yet. So clearly, Elon at this age is pre-puberty. That means his testosterone levels will be low. Testosterone is a contributor to hair loss that later leads to the buildup of what's called DHT, which can lead to miniaturization and later complete hair loss. But clearly, in these photos of Elon, we see that he has a strong hairline, no signs of hair loss whatsoever. And obviously, it's very hard to predict that he's going to have issues later on just by looking at these photos. So I find this really interesting. We start to see Elon change his hairstyle. He's pushing his hair forward, and this might be an attempt to hide a receding hairline. It's very possible that in your 20s, you start to experience male pattern baldness. Changing your hairstyle is one attempt to kind of camouflage and hide, number one, from other people that you potentially have some hair loss, and two, by changing your hairstyle, you can have renewed confidence because then you don't feel that people are looking at you in a weird way, and this might exactly be what Elon is doing at this point. If we fast forward to when Elon is at PayPal, we can clearly see he no longer has those bangs that we just talked about. Instead, he has a thinning hairline, a thinning mid-scalp, recessions of his temples. This is classic male pattern baldness. In my opinion, at this point, Elon likely went on medical therapy with finasteride or minoxidil. Now, Elon was likely experiencing what's called a Norwood 3 hair loss pattern. That pattern could have continued to progress to complete hair loss if he did not start medical therapy at this point. I want to emphasize something. If you're in your 20s or early 30s, don't jump to a hair transplant. You first have to consider medical therapy. Using medical therapy is critically important, and I believe that if Elon did not go on one of those two medications or a combination of those medications, he probably would have had complete hair loss and recession. Now, if we fast forward a couple of years, we see that Elon has a stronger hairline, and he has a hairline that matches the sides of his head. Now, it's possible that at this time, he, number one, was benefiting from medical therapy, and number two, he might have had his first hair transplant with what's called a follicular unit transplantation, FUT. That's where you get a linear scar in the back of your scalp. He possibly had anywhere from 1,800 to 2,400 grafts. Now, the reason why I think he had FUT and not FUE, which is follicular unit extraction, is because FUE did not become popular until after 2010. So clearly, Elon benefits from a potential first hair transplant. But what we can see is he still has areas of low density on his scalp. And so what I want to emphasize is that if you're thinking about getting a hair transplant, it's usually not going to be successful on just one transplant. You usually need 2, sometimes 3 transplants to get improved density and a stronger hairline. And commonly, it needs to be in combination with medical therapy to get the absolute best results. So now we can see that Elon has this wraparound scar that's really extending to what's called the frontal temporal area. Now, it's not normal to have a scar to extend that far any longer. Really, the scar shouldn't extend beyond what's called the tragus, or right in front of the ear. This was a procedure that had been done in the early 2000s, so he only had the option of an FUT. Now you have the option of an FUE procedure. This is really a conversation with your hair transplant surgeon, whether you're a candidate for one or the other or both. But I know that patients sometimes are concerned about having this linear scar on the back of your scalp. Number one, technology has improved. We have ways of making that scar less perceptible, and it's almost imperceptible in some cases. But again, in any surgical procedure, whether you get an FUT or an FUE, you can develop scars. Now, this was Elon's second hair transplant, and this was a much bigger hair transplant than he had before. This was likely a transplant where he had anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 grafts used. But what we can see in his later photos is he has improved the density, and he has decreased the recession that he was having previously. He's really restored his youthful image from when he was younger. And that really is the power and benefit of doing a hair transplant, mixed, of course, with medical therapy. Elon's later photos show us that he has benefited from having 2 hair transplants. Number one, he's improved the density of his hair, he's improved his hairline, and he's taken that temporal recession that he had when he was younger, brought it down, which all helps him to create a more youthful image. He looks great with his transplant, and obviously he's probably still on medical therapy. One of the downsides that we saw with an FUT procedure is that if you do wear your hair short, you can develop this appearance of a linear scar that can be apparent to other people around you. And so that's why FUE is an option for people who wear their hair short. Again, these are conversations that you're going to have with your hair transplant surgeon to determine whether an FUT or an FUE procedure is for you. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as I did. I really do love Elon Musk. I think there's a lot we can learn about his hair journey. And of course, I spent a lot of time emphasizing the importance of starting medical therapy in your younger years. If you have any questions, please leave your comments below. I'm here to answer anything about hair restoration, hair medical therapy. Of course, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel. And as always, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.